Hello and welcome to Have a Chat. It's a beautiful day in Miramichi, and welcome. I'm your host for today's show, Judy Loche, with my beautiful co-host, Veronique Arsenault, for Have a Chat.
So glad to be here with you, Judy. It's an exciting show we've got ahead.
So exciting. We have a dynamic guest who we're going to get to just momentarily, but first, I always want to hear what quote you bring.
Well, and I loved it when I saw it, and I don't know the person that the quote comes from, but I'm going to do some research on him after. But there was a ton of quotes from him, and they all touched my soul. So anyway, Here we go. Cherish simple things such as family, friends, and love, because great things appear simple from far away. Place your simple things in the best light. There's enough sunshine for all of them.
So beautiful.
From Val Uchendu.
It's so beautiful. And as Abba says, and I do. I cherish it all.
Okay. All right. Well, it's all about family, right? Friends and family, and yeah.
That's right.
Yeah.
So that is beautiful.
Yeah.
And so without further ado, we have not just a pretty face with us joining us on set today.
No.
We have a very dynamic, as I said earlier, lady, Michelle Russell.
Hello.
Joining us for the entire show. And you are a psychic medium, which is an ability, a gift, an incredible thing to behold within yourself. So welcome.
Thank you so much. I'm so excited to be here with you both.
We are so pleased that you were able to fit us into your schedule and to be here in Miramichi with us.
Yes, we sure
thank
are,
you.
Michelle. And I mean, we're just getting to know each other a little bit, but for the viewers who don't know you, tell us a little bit about yourself personally.
Sure. I'm a mom of two boys who are 14 and 17. I
Oh,
live in
keeping you busy.
It's right at that age.
Yep.
So I live in Fredericton, but I always say we spend our vacation time and weekend time up here in the Miramichi, so it's a place that's very close to my heart.
Yeah.
I grew up in Victoria, BC, was born in Lar, which we were talking about, and grew up in Victoria, BC, and moved here probably about 25 years ago. So this is New Brunswick is where I call home. It's my heart's place where I raise my boys.
Yes.
Yeah, I love it here.
And I know all about my boys because I have two too.
Yes,
Treasures.
boy mamas.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. You both have so much in common raising two boys in this day and age. It's incredible. And of course,
Yes.
Judy's boys are phenomenal.
They're
so-
men now.
They are.
Yeah.
I don't know how that happened because I taught one of them in high school.
Yeah.
That's not right. But I actually lived in Victoria, BC myself.
Oh my gosh.
For a number of years. Yeah, 4 years.
It's just so wild, the connections. I love it.
I know, it's fantastic. But so again, we are so pleased to have you, but we want to get some more, get to know you a little bit more. And really, I jump right into this and just learn so much more about the gift that you have. And you were absolutely blessed with a special gift. And it's, we've talked a little bit off camera, and it's just, it's affected my life in some really phenomenal ways. But for viewers who don't know, what is exactly a psychic medium, and just tell us a little bit about that so that we can understand it a little bit better.
The very simple way that I put it was from a movie years ago, and it's I see dead people.
I remember that one, yeah.
So that's exactly it. Growing up, I see people who've crossed over. Spirits, I call them guardians. So they are our angels, our spirit guides, energy, auras. That's the medium part of it, is connecting with people who've crossed over. And the psychic part is seeing all of the other stuff. I liken it to like a YouTube video. I can kind of go backwards in somebody's life and say, hey, this is a major pivotal moment. See what's going on with them right now in this moment, relationships, work, family, what's coming up. Then I can kind of fast forward like the YouTube video and go, okay, well, what's coming for you? What are some blocks around you? How can we release those and clear them? So that's kind of the psychic medium, how I bring that. And a little bit, and it's all, well, like me, I'm like an ADD squirrel, do you know what I mean? So it's all over the place. So when I deliver the message just like that, it's not a clean cut, it's a constant. And often I'll look at somebody and then I look kind of over to them, so that's where your aura is, your energy field. right around you.
Wow, Michelle. So when you were, like, what age would you say you were when you started to experience this? And were you afraid? Like, if I was a child seeing this stuff, I'd think, is there something wrong? Is there something, well, obviously it's wonderful, but I would be a little bit fearful just because it's such an unusual thing to have occur.
Absolutely. Well, growing up, I just thought everybody could see grandma sitting at the kitchen table and energy. I have pictures that I drew where there's like light coming out of hands and out of a heart. And at a very early age, I would see spirit, and I just thought that my mom was teasing when she said she couldn't see them there. You know what I mean? My earliest memories are of seeing spirit and it being, I've never felt scared of the gift. I believe it's from a divine place, and that I'm here, you know, very high vibration is what I choose to surround myself with, and what I believe in is high vibration.
I think it's incredible. It's absolutely amazing to me.
I know, and I love it that it wasn't something that you were afraid of when you were a child.
Never.
Yeah.
No.
You embraced it.
No,
Yeah.
I did. Yeah.
And grew with it, and got more intuitive and more in line with people and spirits and everything.
Absolutely.
It's fascinating.
Yeah. It's exciting.
Do you love it? Like, do you love it? Can you? Do you always have to take it with you, or can you have moments where you're like and I don't know if at peace is the right word there, but where your mind can be at peace?
That's a great question, because it doesn't really turn off. I mean, I'm not delivering messages in the grocery store, or do you know what I mean? We've talked about this before. When I'm with my kids, I'm with my kids. Yeah. However, it's on constantly. So if I have a funny feeling about something, do you know what I mean? It's right there. I've had, and it's very interesting in dating, with my kids, they get away with nothing. Do you know what I mean? Yeah. The boyfriend or the kids get away with nothing, because I will be like, where are you? What are you doing? Where are you? What's happening right now? Why are you? My son's, so it's an instant feeling that I have to kind of, or images that I see in my head that I have to kind of interpret. What does that mean? Do you know what I mean? My boyfriend was recently, I couldn't reach him on phone. I was like, where are you? I'll just tune into him. So I tuned in. I'm like, I can feel a woman's hands all over his face. So the messages are like, where are you?
Oh my.
Isn't that
I'm
something?
at the dentist. Right. Getting dental work done. And why are you drooling? Because I've got all these things.
That's the best.
So I can't see, I can just feel. Do you know what I mean?
It's not like you turn on the TV and go, there you are.
It's like little flash images or feelings that you have to interpret that.
Right.
What's happening or what's going on.
You're getting the vibes. You're getting the
there's something going on that he's not at work or not here, at the dentist, right? It was just a simple kind of thing. Right, obviously. Yes, I knew that. I'm psychic. Of course I knew that. So it's not knowing everything, but it's having senses about people. Do you know, when we've talked briefly about this, some people feel really good and you're like soul sisters. Other people, you're like, you know what, my energy just doesn't vibrate with you. I don't even want to sit beside you in the restaurant. I don't want my groceries touching your groceries in the grocery store line. Do you know what I mean?
No, I don't.
We have those feelings sometimes about people.
I think you probably do, though, because you and I have had this conversation where, like, we're just not sure what's off with that person. We like them,
but
we're not.
Yeah, it's an energy thing.
Yes.
Yeah, or even places, you know, when you go to look at a house or you're going somewhere to eat, you're like, you know what, this isn't my house. And when people find their home, they walk in and they're like, this is it. This is where I am.
Their comfort zone, their safe and happy place.
Exactly, it's energy.
What about with your friends? Now, when did you start opening up to girlfriends and then sharing more publicly this ability?
So my first reading probably came grade 3. A little boy in my class had lost his father, and he was swinging on the swing set really high. Like, do you have like underducks here?
Yes,
do you know what I mean?
do.
And the whole swing set was rocking. So the boys were all like, how's Mike getting up so high? And I said, oh, his dad's giving him underducks. And they all said, you're so mean. His dad just passed away. I said, well, his dad is standing right behind him giving him underducks. If you can't see him, he's there. So Mike climbed off the swing and came over, and he said, can you see my dad? And he was this big, tough, jock kind of kid. And I said, yeah, and he wants you to know that he's with you all the time and that you can hear your mom and sister crying at night, and you need to know they're going to be okay. And even though they've said to you, you need to be the man of the house, you still need to play. And his dad played baseball, and Mike played baseball. So he said, you took my baseball glove out of my baseball bag, and you sleep with it under your pillow, and no one knows. And you said you're going to stop playing ball, but you need to go play ball. Anyways, hugged. And then it was like, my dad's with me. Come on, boys, we got to go play baseball. And off they went. I thought it was amazing. I thought I just gave my first raise, like reading on the playground. And then I got to call into the principal's office. Got to call into the principal's office. And very early on, my mom said, and it was totally from a place of protection. You know, don't tell anyone. This was back in, I mean, I'm only, you know what I mean, back in the day.
In the day.
Don't tell anyone. They'll think you're crazy and they'll take you away from me. So growing up, I became a huge skeptic. I didn't believe. My mom would take me to see psychics and psychic readings, and I would think, and they would say, "Oh my gosh, you're so psychic, you're going to do readings someday." And I think, I am not wearing a muau sitting at my kitchen table doing palm readings.
That's what you see.
Never going to happen, right? So it's the greatest compliment to be like, "You don't look like a psychic. You don't act like a psychic. Perfect."
Yes.
So that was sort of my journey, and I started working for a police agency, and I kept seeing spirits around police officers. So I thought that I was schizophrenic, I needed time off, I was stressed, so I went to see our department psychologist, and she said, "You're not psychotic, you're psychic, and you need to tell those officers what you're seeing." So that was really, and it was a beautiful blessing. It was a little girl who had been violently raped and murdered in Fredericton, Jackie Clark, and the officer that she was coming through to was the officer who found her. Completely unbeknownst to me. I wasn't even living in the province when that happened, and the messages that came through for her, I had a Christmas party, and I was like, "Oh, what's going to happen if I just deliver the messages? It's a one-time thing, right? I'm never going to see dead people again. I'll just tell them the story, and it's a one and done," because I don't believe, right? And when those messages came through, he said it changed him. And he said, "You've been given this gift for a reason. You need to not block it. You need to find out why you're blocking it and work through and change that." So that was really the first time I started giving a reading, grade 3, to that form.
Just a little girl, probably then in grade 3, you'd be what, 7, 8?
7, 8.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Goes way back, yes.
Yeah.
That's incredible.
So.
So, you know, I can't even imagine how you navigate all of this in your head, and especially because I have been to an event of yours where there was a large audience.
Yes.
I think there was like 300 people in the audience. I've been to a small event with you, but I've been to a large event. How do you engage? How do you navigate? Like, how do you get physically pulled to somebody, or like, is it like, "Oh no, I really need to go over here"?
That's exactly it. So I see, my sons had this little game when they were little. It was a, I don't know, Fisher Price thing, and when you hit the yellow button, all the yellow things, the ducks and the whatever in the farm popped up. It's like that. So when I talk about a woman who, passes breast cancer related, and these are the very specific things that, very, very specific things that come through, it's almost like, oh, it popped up there, it popped up there, it popped up there. So you will see me kind of walk through, and even if somebody doesn't put their hand up, I'm like, "No, I know I'm with you," right in the back, because it's like their loved one is standing right beside them saying, "Hey, talk to him right here. This guy who doesn't want to put his hand up, he's got the child who's passed, or the dad who's passed, or something." It's a very specific like that. So that's how I get the tuggings kind of in the room. But it's also like 300 people, their 10 loved ones, you know what I mean, are all talking at once. So sometimes it's like I need to pinpoint and fine-tune that. Meditation is how I do that, is how I really kind of center and tune in.
We have a few minutes before we go to commercial. Can you share with us just right now, until we're out of time, we're going to get into maybe more than one, but just an experience that, such as I may be sitting in the audience and I'm just sitting there and I'm the one that you've chosen to go to and you feel from. So can you just kind of go into an example of a situation where you have really been touched and that person's touched you?
Sure. One of my favorite examples was, there was a couple sitting together, and this little boy came through, and he was so full of life and energy, and he had a little guitar that he was playing, and he wanted to show me his karate moves, and he was just running up and down, so free from any physical suffering that he had had. And he stood right up and down, and he said, "This is my mom, this is my mommy, but my dad doesn't believe that I'm here. Can you tell him I'm here? Tell him I've got this in my pocket." He's got this in my pocket, and he keeps a little guitar pick, and he played the guitar. I'm not a guitar player, but he played the guitar the opposite way. He said, "Grampy taught me how to do that. Show him the pick." And his dad stopped, and he stood up, and he reached in his pocket, and he picked up the little guitar pick.
To get the here's
And
my
standing
up.
Is he here? I said, "He's always with you. I didn't bring him. He came with you, and I'm just blessed to see him for this moment. He's always with you."
Beautiful experience. Like, you must feel so honored.
Oh, I
to
do
be able
every
to do
day.
this and
I'm
reach people.
so blessed.
And they're so blessed to have, such a person that can bring this to them when they're mourning and grieving and lost and lonely and all of the above. And you know yourself, you hear about people that have passed, and the grieving is not just for a month, a week, a year, it's forever, right?
It is.
So to
It
get
really
those
is.
people back into their lives that they think, are so far out of reach, are just on the other side.
Yes, they're right here. That
They're
is
right
exactly
there.
it, Judy. They're right here.
That's incredible. And of course, I'm welling up with tears, right? As you tell
Yes.
the story, I'm like, oh my goodness. And, it's so interesting to me, and I think we'll talk a little bit about it after, but those skeptics, and that get dragged with those who are so connected, right? Like, so mom dragged dad. But it sounded, to me, just in that story, it sounded like dad needed it more than mom did.
Absolutely.
And that's amazing.
And they sent a message afterwards and said, our lives are forever changed. We can't bring him back, but at least we can look for moments of him in our day now. Instead of all the emptiness where he isn't present, we can see how his light is here now.
Right.
And experiencing life with us.
That's amazing.
Those simple things
Right,
in our life,
yeah,
right?
exactly.
That are in our everyday.
Exactly. Yeah, we forget about those.
When you have met, or maybe you have not, I'm sure you have met another medium.
Yes.
What's that like? Like, what kind of a experience is that? For example, you know them, I've seen them on TV. I don't know you personally until now, but what kind of an engagement is that when you're in the same room?
It can be wild because it's like, are you seeing the same thing I'm seeing? Do you know what I mean? So if there's other people present, I've encountered a medium one time on the plane, and she was like, are you seeing what I'm seeing? She's like, is this plane not taking off? I said, I don't think so. And sure enough, there was like you know what I mean? There was something. So it was really neat. But what's so neat, I can't read myself. So I kind of see the images, but then I have a difficult time interpreting them because they're just flashes. I don't, is that my Michelle brain, or is that intuition that's surfacing for me?
Okay.
So when I can see another medium, and I think that's what a medium has that ability to do, is to be able to say, hey, this is going on in your life, pay attention to this.
Okay.
Yeah.
Have you ever researched how many there would be worldwide with this gift?
I don't know.
Me neither.
I really
No
don't.
idea.
No, I don't know.
No.
I
I have been to see others, but
Exactly.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
I've not. And I don't
Really?
think I should be fearful, Michelle. I shouldn't be fearful,
No,
right? It's a
no.
phenomenal lifetime experience to have that experience,
Yeah.
exactly. And so
Absolutely.
I think I will set up an appointment for you. I really,
would
really
love
want
that.
to.
I would love that.
But it's, we're going to go to commercial right now, and we are delighted to bring back Michelle Russell with us, and Veronique and I can't wait to bring it back. So just grab a drink, and we'll see you very soon. Welcome back. If you're just joining us, I'm your host for Have a Chat for today, Judy Loche, joined by my lovely co-host Veronique Arsenault, one of my favorite people, and another beautiful lady we've been talking to, Michelle Russell. If you've missed out, don't go any further because there are still 2 segments to this show. Michelle Russell is a psychic medium. She's visiting from out of town today. Just enlightening us with all of her special gifts, and it's exciting. It's the first one we've ever had on the show that does what you do.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yes, I love
pleased.
that.
Yeah. So I'm actually going to kick off the segment, but before I ask you a question, the part I forgot to do in the first segment is wish our very dear Judy a happy birthday today to Judy.
Thank you.
I know, my favorite co-host, of course, always. Actually, you know what? For us, we get to spend every Monday together, and it's for 8 years. We've been doing this show for 8 years, and I just absolutely love that I get to spend every Monday with her. But I didn't want to go by today without wishing you a very happy birthday.
Well, thank you. And for Michelle, too, who came bustling in with this great, big, gorgeous bouquet. Had you seen or you just knew?
I just knew.
knew,
I said,
obviously.
we were driving, and I said, we need to go
No,
up
no,
here to
no.
the florist. I had no idea there was
You
a
didn't know it was my birthday today?
I knew it was your birthday
Oh,
today.
okay.
So I said, no, I knew that. And then the little, what we talked about before, the little butterfly.
Butterfly she has wrapped around my bouquet, folks. So thank you, Michelle. Thank you, Veronique, and for all the people that have been sending me love.
Well, and I know
morning.
on behalf of the viewers, because I know the viewers are also wishing you a very happy birthday, so I wanted to make sure that we got that part in there. But back to Michelle.
Thank you.
We want to learn
Thank
so
you.
much more
Back
about
to
Michelle.
Michelle.
So, we talked a little bit about one of the experiences that you had, with that little boy coming through to his parents. But have you ever been, and it's, you know, it's such, it must be such a horrifying feeling for friends and family, but have you ever been asked to locate a missing person?
Yes.
Or to help,
I've been blessed with that. That is I think my heart's work is working. Probably a third of my clients are first responders, police, fire, paramedic. We include military in that. It's probably 50%. So I'm blessed to work with that, but I was asked, it was actually locally here in Miramichi. I got a call from a family. It was a granddaughter, and she said, my grandfather has been missing for a year, Charles Doyle. And she said he wandered off, was at a camp, and we don't know what happened. We can't find him. And the family was going out, the community really came together in that search, and people were donating gas and out on ATVs and looking. And police and search and rescue did their bit, but it was for a very short period of time, you know, the resources that they could offer. So the family was looking every week, out looking. And I thought, no, you know, I really don't want to be working on a missing person case, because once it starts, it doesn't stop. Imagine if you had, you know, heavy metal music blaring in your head 24/7. The images don't stop, the sound doesn't stop, and I can't tune it out. Once I start, we need to go looking now.
Right.
So it was summertime, and I thought, I don't want to be doing this. Anyways, messages started coming through. Charles's personality, you know, I'd never met them, didn't know the family, and their personality started coming through, so much so that the family came down, and my drawings were, it goes down this road and it turns down here. I've never been to the area. There's 3 little things here. And I thought bogs were like cute little boots that you wear. When
Right.
Did you?
I had no idea that a bog was actually
Swampy?
absolutely.
Yeah.
So and I was getting numbers that I couldn't. I knew they weren't the lotto numbers. Do you know what I mean? But I didn't know what they connected to. And one of the searchers was able to take my little drawings on, you know, scrap pieces of paper and lay it right over the Google map. And it had been key points in the area. One of the numbers was the longitude and latitude lines that I found. And within 250 meters, they went out searching in the area. And the family and I became very close because I was adamant that that's where he was. And they said, well, we looked over here. Well, he's not there. He's right here. If you don't want to find him, don't find him.
Right.
This is where he is. So they went back into the woods, and they were messaging me from the woods, and I didn't know what an alder was. You know, I was a city girl from Victoria, BC.
Absolutely.
I didn't know what alder bushes looked like in the backwoods of Nelson.
Yeah.
And they sent me pictures, and they said, how do you expect us to get through? I said, I don't know, but he's on the other side of those. And sure enough, within 250 feet of the pinpoint, they found his skull.
Wow.
Within so that's like what, across the parking lot,
Right,
over to Tim's. So they contacted the police, the RCMP, and I have a very close working relationship with them. I used to work for Fredericton City Police, and I work very closely with a number of law enforcement agencies across North America. It's kind of, I just put it at that. Anyways, RCMP said, if your psychic is really psychic, tell her we need more. We can't get DNA off of this skull. Wow. We need more.
Okay.
To be able to make a positive ID.
Okay.
So I rolled up my sleeves and I thought, bring it on.
Yes.
Don't tell me I can't do
that's
something.
right. Yeah.
Maybe it's a needle in a haystack. Maybe it was a lucky guess, right? So we went and we found, the searchers were all out in their search pattern, and it's like I could see it through my own eyes, what they were searching. So I said, everyone has to stop and walk back like 25 feet, look to the left, cut down the ferns. And I'm in the sandbox with my little boy. My boys were really little at the time. And I'm seeing this in my head. So it was kind of living both parts. And sure enough, they found femur bone right in there. They found some other bone that they were able to positively identify. Charles, they found his wallet, his belt buckle, his jacket, his hat. It was amazing.
My heart starts beating fast.
Family,
I remember it at the time.
you know, I couldn't imagine driving by and thinking, is that my dad? Is that my dad? Where's my dad? Where's my grandfather? Where's my brother? And then the police paid me a visit, and they said, we've never seen this before. There's so much evidence and so much pinpointing of numbers and specifics that we need to get a statement from you.
Of course.
Oh.
Yeah.
Were you like, were you a little nervous at that
they
point?
said,
not at all. I know where I was.
Right. Yeah,
I know I
absolutely.
couldn't go walking into the woods anywhere.
Yeah.
So they said, because you're either a suspect or you're a psychic.
Right.
And
You're
we
psychic.
don't
I'll go
even
with
know,
psychic.
right? And we don't know what to do with you if you're the latter.
Wow.
Because the information was so specific. It was, in many cases, the works that I've done with law enforcement, it's what they consider holdback information.
Right.
Yeah.
So it is, the murderer knows that, one police officer knows that, and you know that.
Right.
So how do you know that, right?
Yeah.
So, and I just have created such a great connection with that family, and we were able to go on to work with and find other missing people as a result of that.
And the closure.
Oh,
and
the
fulfillment
closure,
of knowing your
Judy.
loved one is not, we know they're somewhere on the earth, but where?
Absolutely.
And rewarding for yourself to be able to.
Absolutely, and I have to share this with you. So my sons, we had talked about this a little bit on break. So my sons are highly intuitive, and we were saying so we were in Nelson down the little cemetery down on St. Patrick Drive is where their grandfather is buried. So we were paying our respects. We picked some wildflowers, and we were paying our respects. Probably the next summer, a year later. My son, who was 3 at the time, said he just kind of looked up and he walked right across the cemetery, careful not to stand on anything, but right across. I said, our family's over here. This is where the Russell plots are. We're over here.
Yeah.
He said, nope. And he walked right over, and the gravestone was facing away from us. And he stood right in front of it, and he looked up, and he said, okay. And I went across. He said, this man is saying thank you. And it was Charles Doyle's head.
Charles Doyle's head.
So they had not heard of that. I didn't. There was
Because they were
no
young.
way they would know. Do you
Right.
know what I mean?
Yeah.
And he looked up so matter-of-factly, okay, I'll tell her. Like, it was just like a matter-of-factly. He says thank you.
So he
And
has
it
the
was
gift that you
just-
have, and your other son probably does too.
Both do.
That's
Yeah,
incredible.
it's amazing.
And you might not know that. You might know that not this about me, but I do think that I do have some kind of
100%, both of
I
you.
mean, you know, there was real quickly. There was a girl that went to parties at a workplace, and at the time they were struggling financially. So I used to give her some of my dresses in the past, way back when. Well, that day I thought I haven't seen her in a long time, but I'm going to discard this and put that out, and she might like that. And it's kind of a party mode dress. I swear to God, I hadn't seen her in about a year or two. About 3 o'clock in the afternoon, she's at the door. I said, I have just what you want. She said, what do you mean? She said, I came to see if I could borrow a dress. I said, I have it right here for you. So you know what I mean? I don't have what you have, but I have some little bit of that, because I will say something and the next thing I know it's happening, or good or
And she
bad.
will often say that to me.
Absolutely.
She will often say that to me. Like, you know, I haven't talked to this person in forever, or like she'll text me and she'll say, you know who I haven't talked to in a long time, and you know, and then like 20 minutes later she'll text me back, yeah, so and so just called me.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Absolutely. That is exactly what intuition is like. It's just like a muscle that hasn't been worked out or trained. I believe we all have intuition.
Yes.
Some of us block it because we're like, it's like that whack-a-mole game at the kids' fair that comes around the exhibition.
Yeah.
The mole pops up and you whack them with the mallet. Your intuition pops up, but your analytical brain, especially, you're so on point with your analyst world you live in, right?
Yeah.
Your brain is constantly analyzing, and do you know what I mean? In that process, it doesn't have a container, so it thinks, "Oh, don't be crazy. Oh, that's crazy to think that."
Yeah.
And I always say that we need, which I feel like you guys are to each other,
Yes.
the don't think I'm crazy, but friend.
Well,
Don't
I
think
am
I'm
crazy,
but you know, right? Don't think I'm crazy, but I'm going to go into politics.
Yeah.
Don't because you knew that was a heart's tugging for you.
Yeah,
You
absolutely.
know,
Absolutely.
don't think I'm crazy, but I need to go help this person.
Yes.
I know it sounds crazy. Do you know what I mean? I
do.
use that
A
word with
calling.
such love. It is. It's an
Pull.
inner pull and calling. And I always say that's from our gut, from our intuition, and that connection to what we know to be truth.
I'm just cracking to ask this question, Michelle, because I have a friend that is so incredibly connected to everything. I mean, her husband passed away with cancer several years ago. She, for example, saw in her driveway when she was going out to her truck the other day, around her birthday time, 59 feathers going to her truck, which was the day, it was just before her birthday. She was going to be 59, plus it was her husband's birthday. She counted them, put them in a jar, and this happens to her all the time. So, I mean, she just wants to meet you, but let's go with some of those signs of I get numbers. I get
Love
9/11
it.
constantly. I used to think it was 9/11 in New York.
Yeah.
Okay, then I thought, oh.
No.
But 9/11, so much so, and I know you have to be aware, but 11/11 is crazy for me.
Yeah.
On everything, plates, clocks, everywhere.
Yeah.
And dimes, and especially my son Jansen's been finding them randomly when
I
things were going in a good
love
direction.
that.
So talk to us about that.
I call those winks from heaven.
Okay.
Like a little wink from heaven saying, you're right on track. I'm right there with you. Because sometimes it's not obvious. Kind of in our daily life, we kind of walk around sometimes a little bit like that.
Mm-hmm.
So when there's something that appears like that, and the case, and that just gave me goosebumps with the
Oh,
feathers.
you wouldn't
because
believe.
you can't, maybe you see a feather if you're down at the beach. You know what I mean? But it's those moments where you're like, you can't make that happen. Can't Google that. Can't make that happen.
No.
There's no way that you know that it's divine. And it gives you goosebumps. I always say when there's goosebumps present, the hair on the back of your neck is standing up, that's a wink that spirit is present for you. That's a knowing within that.
And I believe her. Like
I
you were talking
believe
about
that.
skeptics. It's like, Judy, only you
Yeah.
would really, well, not only you, but you're one of the few that really believe that there were 59 feathers because it sounds so unbelievable.
You can't.
So surreal. But she's, I counted them. I thought they weren't there earlier when I took my dog for a walk, but they're there the second time. And all kinds of things she has happen to her daily.
And it's that way of knowing. And if you look, and it's no comparison because grief is so different, just the way loving someone is so different. But when you look, and that's, I always say, my purpose or mission is to show people those little winks from heaven, because when you can see that, you know that they're right there. She still misses him and wants a hug from him like nothing else. And how dare you die? You know what I mean? We had a lot of living left to do.
Crazy
right?
for him. Love,
Deep
Yes,
love.
yes.
But knowing that he's there, it probably helps her get through the day a little
does,
bit more,
Michelle.
right?
She just says he's
and
so
she's looking,
present.
where's he going to come next? And and it can be that excitement, like with dimes, right?
Beautiful.
And I think we don't have change anymore. I had to pay for
know,
coffee with
I
my
know.
debit card. It was like a 35 cents, whatever thing on the card. So when we see dimes like that, and sometimes they can be, the year on the dime can be a significant year from somebody who's, and I don't know about you guys, but I'm always like, give me a sign that the sign is a sign, right? You see it, and then you're like, just give me one more so I know that that's you.
Yeah, interesting.
And
Yeah,
Jansen, when he was on his path to his career, he kept finding them in multiple amounts. I mean, they were everywhere. He was being showered with dimes. I said, Jansen, this means you must be going in the right direction that you are choosing to.
Absolutely. And it's like ding, 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 ding. You remember that game that kids would play, like getting hot, getting cold? Do you know what I mean? It's like you're on fire. You are exactly where you're meant to be, coming through in
And
that
random,
way.
out of the washer, out of the
Well,
dryer, at my
right.
feet, out of the truck. It's like one
Yeah.
time.
Well, it's, to be honest with you, the last 10 days I've been getting them like crazy.
Yeah, right.
They're everywhere. They're everywhere. And none of us have changed anymore. It's
No.
true.
No, I
and
know.
but it's so I'm a firm believer that things happen for a reason, right? And that, you know, when I'm meant to get there, I will.
Absolutely.
Right. And so when I a year and a bit ago, and I had talked to Judy 1,000 times about launching into politics because it was, you know, it was really hard on my family the couple of times that I had kind of ventured into politics before, and I thought, oh, you know, and it's really hard to put yourself out there and be
Sure
judged by
is.
17,000 people.
Yes.
Right? That's what an election is, right? If you're judging me and my worthiness, right?
Yeah.
But it was funny. So I had talked to Judy, I had talked to my family, and I had announced, and I was, you know, off I went. But about a week into it, a friend of mine shared something on Facebook, and I still have it in my phone. But it was a message, and the date said, "You have tried before. It was not your time. This is the time. Now is your time. You are going to do all of those things that you wanted to do."
Where was that?
It was on Facebook.
Just a little
It was a
message.
message.
It was, yeah, and I still have it in my phone. It was a little. It was one of those affirmation that
Okay.
a friend of mine shares them all the time. Their date. It has the date and then the affirmation for the day. Like this is, you know, and it was. You might have tried it 4 years ago, 40 years ago. It doesn't matter. This is the time. And I was like, okay. And I am so happy at the municipal level.
Yes.
Like as a city councillor, I have found my bliss, right?
Yes.
I love that we're talking about garbage. I love that we're talking about, you know, I love that we're talking about roads, things that I knew nothing about. So I love it. I like it truly, right? Because it's really the day to day, right? And I just absolutely loved it. I love it. I'm so happy there. And I didn't believe I was going to didn't believe it when I got elected. I just didn't. But those signs, and right now I'm trying to navigate some stuff in my personal life, and I'm getting the dimes, and I'm like, okay,
Right.
What's next? What do I do now?
and dragonflies.
Dragonflies, I've never seen. I don't see them. I really don't. I'm one of the few that do not see dragonflies.
Well, and it's funny because of course one popped up today.
Yeah.
And I was like, because I was
Yes.
like yesterday, I'm like, I haven't seen one in a while. One popped up today. But yeah.
I
So
love
anyway,
it.
but those signs, it's incredible because we don't always connect with those signs.
We
Yeah.
don't. And dragonflies have such a special. I was doing a book writing conference down in Philadelphia. I'm in the process of finishing a book, eventually finishing. It's one of those tasks. And I was in one of the gates.
You're right. To hold that thought, Michelle, because we need to take a break. And don't lose your thought. We'll be right back for more Have a Chat. Don't go anywhere. Hello, I'm your host for Have a Chat, and we are back for the last part of our show. We are in beautiful Miramichi at Rogers Studio with our lovely mugs. I am joined, of course, by Veronique Arsenault, who has been here all along. We're having a great, amazing chat with our guest, Michelle Russell.
Thank
We kept the whole show for you because you have so
you.
much to bring us today.
We knew.
You knew.
We knew. Coming back though to that, just as we were ending the segment, you were talking about writing.
Yes.
So let's touch back on that. So you're at a conference.
So I'm at a conference, and I want to relate it back because it's connected to dragonflies. So, and I had missed my flight, and I don't know, I feel like you guys are both very strong empaths. You feel what other people are feeling. You could be standing in line somewhere, and people will come up to you, and they'll be like, oh my gosh, my mom has COVID. Dad, we have to put Dad in the hospital. My kids are sick. And you're thinking, do I know you?
Yes.
Do you know what I mean? And why are you telling me this? And
I
I
know.
just asked for your phone number, and you're telling me your whole life story.
Exactly.
Right? They just almost like buddy up to you, like they feel like they've been friends with you forever.
100%.
And you're both very public but very private people, I think.
But they gravitate.
Do you know what I
There's a
mean?
sign that says, come talk to me if you have an issue on my forehead.
So that's why people who are high empaths, as many of my clients are, that we need to have time where we're alone. Like no people, no connection. So when I travel, because sometimes you're on a plane and there's so much energy going on. So I had missed my flight. I went to a gate where there was no flight for 6 hours. So I just put my little, but then I'm on the laptop. An Indigenous woman comes in. There was a grandmother drumming circle down in the States. So they were drumming, all dressed in red, and she was drumming. And she came into the gate by herself, and she just smiled. And you know when you make that eye contact connection with people, and you're like, do I know you? Was that a past life? Like, how do we know each other?
Yes.
She walked around the first time, and she said, excuse me, are you a palliative care or hospice nurse? I was like, no, I don't even know. I barely passed grade 11 biology. I've been too busy flirting with I don't know where any of the body parts are. No. I said, do you need medical attention? She just smiled, and she said, no, I'm good. And she walked around, and she drummed the entire length around, and she came back the second time, and she said, excuse me, do you work in a funeral home?
Oh my
I
goodness.
was like, a funeral home? I said, no, not at all. And I said, I'm from Canada. I don't know what they have to do with each other. Anyway, she walked around the third time, and I thought, I don't know what she's trying to get at. Hospice, palliative, funeral home. And I said, oh, wait. I said, I see dead people. I'm a psychic medium. And she said, I know that you work with spirit. She said, and you help spirit transition. She said, because you have dragonflies circling around you. And she said, I'm Cherokee. In my culture, we believe that dragonflies are messengers from the spirit world.
Oh, wow.
So they have 2 sets of wings, but they only need 1 fly. And the second set, they bring our loved ones to visit us. So when you see them, it's like that wink, like, I'm right here guiding you through this. You're not going through these decisions alone. I'm guiding you through this point. Yeah.
You have definitely talked about how you have to kind of shut down the button, like kind of block it out. But when you're with your boyfriend and your children and your family of circle of friends, and you don't want to be invaded by these thoughts that keep wanting to come to you, Michelle, how do you find that balance of just pure Michelle time? Do you ever get pure Michelle time?
I do.
You do?
Outside is sunrise, sunset on the water. That's why I
Water
love
is your
Miramichi. Water, the ocean, that's my thing.
Takes you away?
It does. Yeah, it clears kind of the energy field around me.
Right.
Being with really high vibration people, I don't have to have my phone. The kids will often tease, I call it my camera, or I don't know where it is, so I'm not attached. When I'm on, I'm on. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But otherwise, I'm off. And really connecting with people who are pure hearts and souls, and just stillness, meditating. I meditate every day. And walking, being outside in nature is a huge way. Even in the middle of winter, we're still hiking. We're still snowshoeing because that's the only time that the brain can kind of tune out.
And look around and see nature.
And you're in the moment instead
of
what else am I seeing? Do you know what I mean?
That's what I find. That's what does it for me.
Absolutely.
My pool time, whether it's looking at the birds and the trees, and speaking of birds, I'm so enthralled with birds. Do they have a special meaning?
Absolutely.
Like
every
little
bird,
robins
every
and
color,
Love
exactly
them.
their presence.
They're around, they're flitting, and this time of year, the sound of them, that's just something that I'm with you on. I just, nature really calms me.
Yeah, it brings us there.
Talking about, though, like, you know, the emotions and you know, it must be, it must be so overwhelming at times. Like, how do they affect you? How do you cope with that? How do you help people get through all that and still be okay?
Yeah, well, I always say we have a term at events, and with my clients, I ugly cry right with them. So there is part of my language is not flying. Sometimes people hold in their grief and they don't let it out. They try to, oh my gosh, my aunt's across the room, or the old neighbor, my old hairstylist. And the beautiful thing about the messages when they come through is that they can create that ugly cry and that release, and that I'm right there crying with them, and that I can be a part of that. And I think in talking, and it's with anything, it's surrounding myself with an incredible team, mind, body, spirit of people. You know, I have a girlfriend who's a therapist. She calls me for spiritual stuff. I call her for therapy stuff. I'm like, I just need help processing. If it's an accident scene, you know, a young child has passed in an accident, I can see from, and I'm blessed. I feel a blessing because I can see it from their perspective. The last image, like, I wasn't there. Do you know what I mean? This is the last image. My grandfather and the yellow lab I had when I was 4 came to get me. Do you know what I mean? Tell them that I'm with grandma, right? So it's vivid. So I see what they see. I also see what the first responders see.
Oh my
and
gosh,
I also
they
see
have a job.
what, do you know what I mean? And what that, so I'm blessed to have people around me who can really support and kind of say, hey, is that a little heavy? Can I help you release that? Yeah, but that's a great question. And sometimes I'll come home and my kids will be like, oh, Mom's doing barefoot, old-fashioned dishes washing. Do you know what barefoot grounds are? So Mom's had a rough session. They'll give extra hugs. Or, do you know what I mean? I could just feel that you needed. There was something heavy that you were letting go of today. So
you've been doing this for years and years, and you've been touring, Michelle. Tell us about some of the places that you've taken your shows on the road. I mean, other than the beautiful locales you've been blessed to be a part of. I know different areas in Canada, and also maybe without Canada, without the border. I don't know.
Well, the beautiful thing is that I've traveled across Canada, so really Canada's top psychic medium. Do you know what I mean? Is what they've kind of labeled me as. So I've traveled from, you know, Victoria all the way to Newfoundland. Do you know what I mean? And kind of many places in between. In the process of that, I remember when I went to Newfoundland, I didn't know a soul. I knew one client from there, but I listened to that inner tugging, and it's amazing when you can go to this small little town, and Miramichi is very similar, because when you go to these little, my tours are actually called healing communities, because it's that, those little communities, or Boys Town, or, do you know, little communities who suffered, it's not just one person who has a loss, it's you know what I mean? It is the first responders. It is the nurses. It's the therapists. It's the friends of them. It's the friends' parents who are grieving right alongside. Teachers, right? That you feel that pain and you go through. So when they're a part of these big group events, they can laugh, you know, because it's comical. Some of the messages that come through, right, are hilarious. And also kind of grieve right along with them. So I've been blessed. And during COVID, I've been blessed to be able to do Zoom sessions. So in connecting, I was like, is that going to work? Yes, it works.
I heard from a friend. She was just blown right away. She had tears coming for like hours.
That's incredible.
Yes.
I've said that a lot today. That's incredible.
Yeah,
but it is. It is.
So it's amazing that you can be anywhere in the world. So I have clients who are from Scotland, Dubai, Australia, and you don't realize, and love is the same and grief is the same. It doesn't, it transcends any language. If somebody didn't speak English, one of the most beautiful sessions I had was with a little boy who was jumping up and down, and he said, he was singing, "You Are My Sunshine." And he said, "Tell Mommy I can jump now and I can run, and look at me run." She said, "My son could never run. He was confined to a wheelchair. he never ran and he could never speak. He was nonverbal.
She'd be so.
And I said, well, you sang, You Are My Sunshine. She said, that's the song. No one knows that. That was not in anything. But now I can walk. Any physical ailments, any mental ailments, if somebody had Alzheimer's or dementia, do you know what I mean? That, as tragic as that is, that stays with their physical body when they're crossed over. They are sharp as a tack again and talking about this and this. So
You had something on one of your Facebook posts that said that when, for example, if I have a dog that's 11.
Yes.
And I mean, she might live to be 12, 13, 14. I have no idea. But when she goes and crosses over, you had a picture of, say, me.
Yeah.
And the dog, it's like a vision of an outline of the dog faded out, kind of. Could you describe that for us? What you actually see when you see something?
Yeah, that's a great question. That is exactly what I see. So I love posting pictures like that because it's so hard to explain what I see in my head.
Yeah.
So I see them, animals cross over just the same. They are with us. Do you know what I mean? I always say it's love. So we could have a grandparent that we loved and then one that we may have seen twice a year. Do you know what I mean? It's love and that connection or what they need to share. But animals come through with the same personality. And they talk about, it's the outline that I see. So sometimes I'll see the specific, that's this breed of dog. Other times it's the dog's panting and he's got the new dog has new treats that I ever got and this and why is their bed this color? Do you know what I mean? They tease about, they can see what's going on in real life now, or it's like, I want you to be able to move forward. It's okay to let me go. I get to be at every meeting now with you, or I get to be right there with you. Yeah.
So whether believers or not, would your message be, correct me if I'm wrong, that you should not be afraid to let go of this world?
Absolutely.
You should not be. People have fear of death. You know what I'm saying?
absolutely.
And they fear we're all going to go. We all are. And so, but they're like, some people are traumatized by that very thought of never being on this earth again.
Absolutely. And I'll post this again over the next week, that, sometimes when they're in a hospital bed or they're transitioning or even through trauma passing, we're kind of hovered over them doing our best to save them. Do you know what I mean? Yeah. When they're ready to go to the arms of their loved ones waiting, they know that that's coming for them. And sometimes in hospice, they will talk about that. Like, oh, I saw my husband today. He's coming to get me. Or the baby. Or little things like that.
And consoling. For our viewers, like, don't be afraid. Michelle's here to say that this is beautiful and your loved ones are waiting for you to embrace you, love you again.
Well, I love that it's about love. And it's funny because, I'm just, my little older dog is, and I keep thinking, does he know I love him? Like he hasn't crossed yet. He's still with him, and but I'm like, does he know I love him? Does he understand how much I love him?
Yes, they can feel that just like we can. Yeah. And that's the beautiful thing is when they come through, they're like, and you did this and this for me that showed me love. I got ice cream before I passed. You were there with this. I was present when my mom had to put her dog down, and my stepdad had passed just probably a couple months beforehand. And I would say animals can sometimes pass when there's a major transition happening. Do you know what I mean? That they will often transition. And he could barely lift his little head up, his little Shih Tzu. And it was my first time being present, so I'm like, I don't know where to hold him. And the vet thankfully knew that I could see spirit, and I sang his dad. And anyways, it was like I was giving readings and holding him. Anyway, we were there, and the dog lifted his head and kind of looked over like that. And it was his dad, my stepdad, was like, oh, look, there's, and he passed. So they know in those moments, even animals are met by
I love animals so much.
Yeah, I mean, I can't even imagine my life without the love of my little poofers. I just can't even imagine.
Unconditional. It is unconditional love. That is 100%.
Absolutely.
I know you have a question, but I just have to get this in real quick because I took this little girl out one time. I kind of mentor youth in my time when I have time.
She does amazing work.
I guide them, and if they're having difficulties with peers or being bullied or they don't know where their path is with trying to find friends or what they want to do after school. So I took this little girl to a restaurant where I thought it would be just maybe they'd think it was my niece or something. I didn't want to be very obvious. Instead of doing it at my home, I thought I'll treat you to a nice lunch. It's just coming to me now. She sat down with me. She was probably 15, not long ago. And she said, can I tell you something that nobody else knows? And I said, sure. She said, like you promised, she said that you won't think I'm strange. I said, never in a million years. I'm open to anything. She said, I see dead people.
Wow.
And I kind of stopped and I kind of looked at her and I said, do you? Yes, I do. She said, quite a bit. So then maybe, you know what, you two should connect sometime.
I would love that.
Yeah, because she thought she was really extraordinarily off and that it was normal and that she was terrified actually. And didn't want to tell her family, but she told me. So that's a
incredible.
gift, and that's beautiful,
Yeah.
and I believe you.
Yes, and that's exactly it. If children say that of any age,
Yes.
of any age,
Believe them.
Absolutely.
So I will.
That's
I would
amazing.
love that.
But so, do you ever? You alluded to it a little bit, where you might not want to sit next to somebody in a restaurant or whatever. Do you ever get, I guess, kind of that negative energy from people, and like how do you manage that?
I do avoid them. Like, no, we're not. No, not any. Yeah. And I think that's it. Sometimes I can just sit with it and go, oh, this is a learning lesson. How do I need to? I taught my voice at a very early age to kind of put up a force field around us. They were big into like Star Warsy kind of energy, so I'll put energy up around me. We'll put energy up around us, and to just let that. And I just breathe through it. But it is. I really have learned over the years to remove myself from situations that just don't vibrate. I don't need to be friends with. I have a really small group of friends, you know what I mean? But those are rock solid.
Yeah.
They're the call up anytime in the middle of the night
Right.
that I know you don't think I'm crazy. I'm going to text you the 1111s
Yes.
and every single time
Sure.
I see, because
Yes.
I know you get it,
Yeah.
right?
That's
right.
That those are those people. And I think that that's what allows me to do my work is that I've just chosen to not put myself in situations where there is that negative. Do you know what I mean? Or to just ground myself and block myself from those.
Right.
Yeah.
Yes.
Because I think sometimes we feel like we have an obligation to connect with certain people. And when it doesn't, it's like two magnets repelling. It's like, I'm not meant to connect with them.
Yeah.
They are not your person
No.
in anything. And you just need to let them go and go,
And
well,
not
whatever
feel
it
bad
is.
about it.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Michelle, we're getting close to running out of time, and what better birthday gift could I have than Michelle Russell on the show on a beautiful, glorious, sunny day on June 27th. But before we do part ways, tell us when you're in Miramichi, New Brunswick
I am
again.
yes, I love Miramichi, and I could live. I always say if there was a city, I would marry Miramichi. You would say me, I would marry Miramichi. I'm back July 12th. Oh, so for a VIP, it's a small. So I just did a big group here. I'm back for a small VIP. There's only 35 guests. There's still tickets available on the website michellerussell.ca, and it's 3 hours. And I love it those ones because they're message intensive, and I get a chance to go around to each individual person. So my private one-on-ones, it's like a 3-year waiting list. It's really extensive. There's tens of thousands of people.
Get me in, girl.
So yeah, we all can talk. Yeah. So and Zoom is an amazing. The Zoom sessions are only $25, and they're amazing. People can get together with their family, their spouse, their friends. They're sitting on the deck. It's after dinner, so I have one of those coming up tomorrow. For that. So
Okay,
for
but
viewers
at the
that are part
broad
of that.
again, what time? Well, I mean, I know
Yeah,
it's
one
very,
time
very
it is-
small, the audience.
Yeah,
That's-
those ones are. There's still a couple tickets available. That is from 7 till 10.
7 till
so it's
10?
3 hours, and that's at the Rod on the 12th.
Are you drained
So-
after that? Like, do you have to go
No.
home and take a shower and just read a book?
Stop talking after that. Much to the dismay of the people. I am because it's the energy,
We have
right?
to go.
It's like
Well, we have to go with your energy, and we love your energy. Your energy is amazing. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen, for tuning into the one and only show with Michelle Russell. But maybe we'll get you back.
Thank you.
Have a wonderful week, everybody. It's been a pleasure. Bye-bye.